I do think it's interesting. I know Baskin today talked about the Browns have now put a lot of pressure on Dillon Gabriel by naming Shedeur the backup. And like, if fans right now are clamoring for Shedeur, I'm not. When he, I think it's fated he'll play. I'm excited to see him play when he plays. But I understand, like, let's be real here. The Dillon second start is not as big a story as Shedeur being the backup, because Shedeur does have sizzle. Some of that's media creation, some of that's Shedeur Camp's creation, and some of that's,
in this case, was the Browns' creation in many ways. They could have stopped the story on Tuesday.
I think that's 100% right. And so I think
we need to highlight that a little bit, don't we?
Go ahead.
Oh, just the idea that like everyone's like, oh, it's always on Shedeur. It's always Shedeur's fault. He's the one that brings all this attention. He's the one that brings this and all that. Well, I mean, the Browns could have easily stopped this thing on Tuesday. You could have done the common sense play. What everyone thought should happen to begin with is everyone moves up. What Brian McFadden say? He was like, just everyone moves up one, and then you just keep the trains rolling down the track, and you don't have to worry about it. And the Browns instead decided to play basically, how do we get the most attention possible for 3 days straight? You could have stopped this on Tuesday. On Wednesday, in the open portion to the media, the practice that was set, you could have put Shedeur the backup quarterback spot next to Dillon Gabriel the way that you do every single week with the backup quarterback. Instead, you put him over there with the practice squad players. That's not on Shedeur. That's on the Browns. Like, the Browns have a hand in all of this. Like, they really do. It's bothersome to me that way.
So, I don't disagree. Can I give you two more plausible theories on why they just didn't call Shedeur the backup on Tuesday? One, they actually do like the distraction. They don't like the distraction when they're playing well or when something good happens and then they have to talk about Shedeur. Like Dillon being named the starter last week. But...
like, we're not talking about how much you suck at football right now?
Bingo! I don't think that matters to Kevin. Might matter to the people that run the organization above Kevin and maybe even above Andrew Berry. The second one is, they might be painfully aware that the perception of them is that things are going to disarray, that this is becoming the same old Browns, verbiage that I've certainly used this week, and they wanted to use the Shedeur decision to show, hey, we're still being incredibly well thought out. We're still being incredibly, intentional. I think that's a word they've used a lot in all of our decisions. Meaning, we're going to use the Shedeur decision to paint us as somebody that, hey, there's no disarray here. The thought partners are still thinking partnerly. And that's even confusing still too. Like, so what happened to the people that were trying to tell us that through leaked sources that Shedeur wasn't ready and wasn't and needed so much more time to cook? Is that not just completely contradicting itself then when you make them one play away from being put in the football game? I mean, I think their reaction will be, well, we didn't leak that. I think when
that's
you
been
leak
their message the entire time.
It is, but when you leak it through third parties, you can say we don't know who said that in the organ. There's plausible deniability there versus if they had said it themselves.
We had Daryl on this morning on with Ken and Anthony being like, the Browns are doing, and Daryl will join us later. Be like, the Browns are doing this right. They're finally doing this right, and it's like, well, hold on. Since you named him the backup quarterback, that goes up against everyone that thought that they were doing it right and slow playing Shedeur in any sort of way. Are those same people going to turn around? Will Daryl tonight turn around and say, what are the Browns doing with Shedeur Sanders? How dare they? What are they doing? They're not treating him the right way. I don't think we're going to get that from Daryl today.
I don't think we will either. But I also think
funny how it works.
I think when
just pointing it out.
I think when the Browns leak things, it's the extra step away from what is reality. Meaning they can leak anything they want to the media because it then falls on Daryl. It falls on the beat reporters. It falls on the national reporters, and I think they've gotten away with that. And I
think they love that, by the way.
100%.
And I think they love when they make the national reporters and the local reporters look like idiots. I think they set them up sometimes to look like idiots. I think the whole draft process and what happened with the trade out of number 2, obviously it was for good football reasons, not suggesting that, but the misdirection that Andrew Berry kept playing with the media the entire time, where they had everyone certain that Abdul Carter was going to be the choice at number 2, to then have everyone certain it was Travis Hunter to be the pick at number 2. Like, they just like playing these games. They love these games, and they love the idea that they can get people to just take the bait and then eventually sound like idiots. That's what they love. They eat it up.
How much pressure is on Dylan? Or how much added pressure is on Dylan because of Shedeur?
I told you earlier, I disagree with Baskin's assessment. I do feel like the fans and everyone, but Stefanski doesn't pay attention to that noise nearly as much as people think that he does. I think the fans will be clamoring for Shedeur, drive one that fails with Dylan Gabriel. But I think the understanding there is that Dylan Gabriel, at least my understanding of it, is that Kevin Stefanski needs this to work with Dylan Gabriel. This is his choice. This is the quarterback that he has said he loves and is the first one out of the gate outside of Joe Flacco. So he's going to have a long leash here in many respects to be able to showcase what he can and cannot do, because it's more important to Kevin that Gabriel is the one that works than it being Shedeur.
I think I do believe that the depiction of Dylan is a really good kid, really smart kid, very mature. I do think that's correct. I also think that there is, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but between the two times where was he talking about Shedeur, was he not talking about Shedeur?
This goes back even further than that. This is like the wrist up moment.
100%.
Yep. Rookie photo, everyone putting wrist up, and Dylan's over there sulking, rightfully so.
So it's not 100% on the up and up from me. And it doesn't mean that, by the way, it's a huge deal either. But I would just say, if Dylan feels insecure just because Shedeur is backing him up, he's already cooked as an NFL quarterback. To the people worried about Dylan Gabriel, it's like, no, the entirety of becoming a starting quarterback in the NFL or being the starting quarterback even for a week, it's a giant stress test. And by the way, I think the reverse for Shedeur is the giant stress test of you're not starting, you've never not started in college, you got to figure this out, right? These are necessary tests that each of these young men have to go through. And if they fail it, there's your answer. And it's unfair to both of them that this has become a one-season prism. That's also the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, we get into these things of fair or unfair. It doesn't matter if it's fair or unfair, but it can only be more pressure on Dylan if Dylan allows it, or if Dylan has a soft spot in his armor because of Shedeur.
I mean, he's a bigger man.
There's the answer.
He's a bigger man than I am if he doesn't let it get to him.
He's not, though. He's a very tiny fellow.
Yeah. I'm almost 6'2".
Me right into
I'm
it.
almost 6'2".
Yeah.
He wishes,
tiny little guy. He wishes he was Peterlin.
He would have been a first-round pick if he had Peterlin height. My older brother is 6'4". 6'3". My younger brother is 6'4", and I'm just approaching 6'2". He would have killed for some Peterlin height.
That's true. Just a little bit of it.
So the point is, though, that like he's a much bigger man than I am, though. Seriously, though, in the respect of if he doesn't hear or doesn't see Shedeur breathing down his neck, like I don't know how you don't. It would be very incredible if he's just able to lock in and not focus on anything else around Shedeur. In fact, I don't even know how they do the whole Shedeur is supposed to help him throughout the week get better and do all that. I know Shedeur's a really good teammate, but even some of that stuff it would be hard in many aspects.
Dylan Gabriel's second start. Are we in the midst of a quarterback controversy? No. If the Browns are a well-led organization, it shouldn't be a controversy. But I did just use the condition if the Browns are a well-run organization, and that remains to be seen. Right? This ultimately is Dylan versus Shedeur. This is kind of just the perfect stress test.
But I don't even look at it like Dylan versus Shedeur, Nick. I look at it like it's Dylan versus Dylan for right now.
No, that's the way it should be, because that's the way it is.
It's the way it is.
But I think it can turn into that in those buildings, and that's why it's the stress test.
Like, the frustrating part of your Shedeur in this equation is that if Dylan Gabriel's awesome, guess what? You're not going to see the field. That's your reality. Like, Dylan, in getting the first rookie out of the gate opportunity, that's the leg up that you have. You have the job, and you don't have to give it away.
We do have quick hits coming up as well. At some point, we're going to deal with this issue that is facing the station that has come. We got evidence. We got maybe some testimony. It'll be from me, but some testimony. We'll deal with that as well. But Shedeur's the backup. Browns, Steelers on Sunday in Yinzertown. We're going behind enemy lines with a friendly face. You know him. You love him. Former Pitt offensive lineman, former Browns offensive lineman, Jason Kingsten joins us now on the Fan Hotline. What's up, buddy?
How are you guys?
We're doing all right here. It's a football Friday. It's an F-off Friday. I guess we'll get your initial reaction. What is your initial reaction to the fact that Shedeur Sanders will be the backup this weekend?
I'm fine with that. You know, I think he's done enough in training camp and preseason games I thought Dylan went out there and he played well versus the Vikings. I thought he threw some nice passes, and I think he earned the right to be the guy out there on the field Sunday. And I think it's a good opportunity for sure. Look, listen, you're the second guy. God forbid something happened to Gabriel on Sunday, and if your name's called, your name's called, and good for you. I'm honestly tired of hearing about Shedeur. I just want to see football, and I want to see this team turn the corner and start winning football games. Sometimes the media and myself and fans, everyone's talking, and the focus is Shedeur, and I think the focus needs to be the guys that are on the field and the guys that are trying to win us a football game. Good for Shedeur. He's now the second string quarterback. If God forbid if something happens to Gabriel, if we need him, great. Hopefully he can go in there and he can throw some balls and show us what he really has.
All right, then get us set up for this weekend. Is this week bigger for Stefanski or Dylan Gabriel?
I think it's both. Honestly, I think more so for Coach Stefanski. I think that this obviously it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, and any time that Cleveland can go in there and steal a win or get a win, it's a huge momentum boost for us, the town, the fans, the entire city. But we lost to a banged up football team last week in the Minnesota Vikings. They're missing multiple starters on offense, and I felt and I understand that you didn't throw the whole playbook at the first time starting rookie quarterback. But however, I thought that we played not to lose, and it ended up biting us in the end. And we lost that football game. So I think this is a big week, obviously, for the entire team and the organization. If we can get a win on Sunday, I think hopefully that it can give us some momentum moving forward. And, I think we are playing a football game that is very winnable if we can run the ball, control the line of scrimmage, and not let T.J. Watt wreck the game and, let DK Metcalf run free with broken coverage and thing. I think this is a winnable football game.
Jason Pinkston on the fan hotline here with Nick and JP breaking down this Browns-Steelers game on Sunday. So I guess you kind of hinted to it there. After this, you've got the Dolphins at home, then the Patriots and Jets. What does a win do for the Browns on Sunday?
It gives you that confidence that, things are working out. It's starting to turn for the right direction. And, no one thought that we would trade Joe Flacco this week, but things have happened. So I was sitting back this week and I was kind of confused on the plan, on what was happening with the team. I thought Pickett was going to be in the mix there. Obviously, he got hurt, didn't play any preseason. We were rolling with Flacco. And listen, I thought Joe did a decent job. There were some interceptions that weren't his fault, and there were some big-time drops by our receivers and tight ends that weren't his fault, that did not help him. We got Jenkins back, and he's running the ball well. But I just was kind of confused there on where we were going and where this is ending up. And, some of these younger rookies didn't get any reps in preseason, and now here we are. They're 1-2. But, I think a win could really change the direction for us. We have some very favorable games that can be had, that we can win versus the Dolphins and Jets. We just need to get a win. Just a winning solves everything, and a win would really help. The continuity of the team, the bonding. We need a win. We really do, really bad.
Pink, I think Quinshawn might be a star. What do you see when you watch him play?
He is no doubt going to be a star. I mean, I was reading that people said he didn't have breakout speed. I saw him break, and he's making guys miss. He's running people over. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think we hit a home run with this guy. And I think most of our rookies in this draft class that have played are actually performing pretty well at a high level, that we do have something we can build on. But, Judkins, seeing him run the football, I mean, had we didn't have those penalties, I think he would have finished well over 150 yards rushing versus a good Minnesota Vikings defense that was playing pretty well. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for that guy. I just hope we don't have to overwork him to get what we need to get done, and I hope that we can help him with the pass game. But he can definitely help us and open things up for us on the back end with the way he's running the ball, because you have to respect it.
Pink, it's been interesting. I know you still live in Pittsburgh. You're from there. We forgive you for it because you're a former Cleveland Browns player. But, there's been so much talk about the Steelers, and there's a lot of people nationally that do not want to buy into them as a good team. I don't think they're a finished product yet, which is even more impressive to me. Do you think the Steelers are as good as advertised?
Listen, you can only go by what their record says, and right now they're sitting at 4-1. I thought the Jets, you really got after them, and they let that slip away, and then obviously the Seahawks went in there and handled business. I think they're a solid football team. They have a good veteran quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. I think they have a good receiver in DK Metcalf, couple nice tight ends. I think the defense is a little older, and they're not playing together yet at a high level. There's been some teams that have been really able to run the football on them and make big plays, and we are going in there. I know our offensive line is kind of banged up, and we're shuffling things around to try to get the right fit for our team. But I think if we can go in there and establish the run, I think we'll be okay. And listen, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are who they are. It's always going to be a dogfight when the Browns come to town or the Steelers go up to Cleveland. It's always going to be a hard-fought football game. You can flip a coin in the way which way it's going to go. And I really like it because it's a rivalry football game, and I'm just hoping we can go in there and take care of business.
Has the T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett debate been put to bed? Is it just it's Myles with a bullet?
If you're still having this debate, you're delusional. I mean, it's Myles Garrett by a landslide. The guy just changes the football game. I mean, he really changes what you do on offense. I mean, he can really wreck the football game, and I'm looking forward to see him Sunday. I thought he's been just not off, but their teams are really keying on him and what he's doing. It's allowing other people to make plays, and I know this is a big one. He's going to be ramped up for it, obviously, because some of the things that TJ has said in the past, and media folks said in the past. But to me, Myles Garrett is the best defensive player in the National Football League, and he's been so for a couple years now. And you can't take anything away from that guy. You won't see another player like him for a long time.
Pink, the Browns making 2 trades today: Joe Flacco for a pick swap, and then Greg Newsome and a 7th rounder to Jacksonville for Tyson Campbell in a 6th rounder, which ended up being basically a salary cutting move by the Cleveland Browns. If you're in the locker room this week, what's the vibe? How did those kind of deals, trading your former starting quarterback and maybe downgrading at corner to save some money, but have somebody here long term, how are those received within a locker room?
I think it sends the message as, hey, and listen, I love Greg Newsome. I loved what he did for us. He was a fiery player. He was very active. I mean, every corners have one of the hardest jobs in the NFL. You're out there, you're by yourself. I thought he battled. I thought he played well. I was shocked to see him go. Obviously, I'm not up in those offices and making those decisions. But the message I would have taken from it as a player, like, hey, we better get this thing going, because, they're not afraid to trade somebody, get somebody out of there and try to get somebody else in there, whether it be an upgrade to the position or they're trying to get rid of somebody's salary. So hopefully, the message was received, like, it's time to, get this thing going, or, hey, your job or your career might be over here in Cleveland. I'd be a little bit on edge, and I'd be kind of, I know some of those guys are upset. They've played with that kid for 4 years now, going on 5, and he was a brother, and he seemed that he was well liked in the locker room, didn't cause many problems, and when he was on the field, he battled. He did.
Have you lost faith in Kevin Stefanski?
I have not. And you know what? I've always been the kind of guy that I'm going to ride with whoever, who's leading the ship until the ship falls apart and they make changes. And, I hate to say that, but I truly do think that he is a good head coach, and I think he is a leader, and those guys do respond for him. I think there's a little more to it that, in some of those meetings that we are not, and we are not able to attend, that or strings are being, hey, this is what we want, and sometimes your hands are tied and you got to do what you got to do for the people that are signing your check. But I think he does one because we've seen it. We've seen him produce a good quality offenses and teams that are moving the ball on both sides. The defense playing well, offense is playing well, and we've won games. So, and we won a playoff game. Yes, he was out due to COVID, but he was a big part of that game plan going in, and when we did win our last playoff football game. So I have not lost faith in him. I will say I've questioned some of the decisions he has made, but as a fan, he don't give a heck what decisions I question. But I do love him. I do respect him for what he's doing. He's showing up and he's trying to get these. Trust me, no one wants to win more than he does. So I haven't lost faith in him yet. I have not.
Pink, we haven't lost faith in you. Strong stuff as always, buddy. Great catching up, and we'll catch up down the line.
Absolutely. Go Browns. We need this win. We need it for the city, the town, the team, for everything. If we win a game, let's win this one. Win this game.
All right, buddy. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Jason Pinkston there, former Browns offensive lineman, former Pitt offensive lineman on the Fan Hotline.